Can cruelty be an art? Can punishment be more than pain, a message, a cosmic warning? In ancient times, justice was not only about law but about power, fear, and control. Hidden within the shadows of history lie punishments so cruel, so mysterious, that they go beyond mere suffering. These were unthinkable punishments designed to break not just the body but the spirit, to erase identity, and to warn entire societies of the terrible cost of transgression. From terrifying instruments of torture to spiritual erasures so complete that the soul itself could be lost, these ancient practices reveal a hidden truth. Punishment was a performance, a cosmic act with deep mystical meaning. Today, we journey into the dark heart of ancient mysticism to uncover what was hidden, the unthinkable punishments crafted in silence and shadow, their secrets lost to time, yet waiting to be remembered. In many ancient mystical traditions, the most terrifying punishment was not physical pain or death, but erasure, not just from society, but from the very fabric of cosmic memory. Imagine being condemned not to die by sword or fire, but to vanish completely, to have your name, your essence wiped from the sacred registers that record souls. In Egyptian mysticism, this was more than myth. It was a divine sentence. The forgotten name punishment stripped the soul of its identity. The name was the key to eternal life and spiritual recognition. Without it, the soul could not pass through the afterlife's gates, could not be remembered by the gods, and was doomed to wander in endless darkness. This fate was far worse than death. Death ends the physical journey, but the forgotten name ends the spiritual journey. The soul becomes trapped between worlds, neither alive nor dead, invisible and forgotten. Why such cruelty? Because ancient mystics knew the power of names. To know a true name was to hold power over a spirit. To erase it was to erase the person from reality. This punishment was reserved for the worst spiritual crimes, betraying sacred mysteries or desecrating divine truths. Their sin was so great that death was too mild a sentence. This idea appears beyond Egypt. In Kabbalah, certain names are so sacred that erasing or misusing them brings spiritual doom. In Hindu esotericism, losing one's spiritual name or mantra could sever the connection to the divine, causing spiritual oblivion. Thus, the punishment of the forgotten name is more than lost memory. It is cosmic silence, a spiritual death beyond human understanding. It shows that ancient mysticism saw punishment not only as physical pain, but as a deep metaphysical consequence where the soul itself can be destroyed. Imagine a death so cruel it turned agony into performance, where the screams of the condemned were twisted into the roar of an animal. This was the brazen bull, an invention from ancient Greece designed not just to kill but to terrify. A hollow bronze bull, heated by fire beneath, in which a person was locked inside to roast alive. But the horror did not stop there. Engineers built pipes inside the bull so that the victim's screams echoed as the bellowing of a bull, turning agony into a grotesque symphony. This was more than execution. It was a warning, a spectacle of power meant to crush rebellion and inspire fear. Phalaris, the tyrant of Sicily, is said to have used this horrific device to assert absolute control. The very man who designed the bull, Parallaeus, ironically became its first victim, a dark twist, symbolizing the brutal nature of power. The brazen bull reminds us that cruelty in ancient mysticism was often theatrical, a terrifying ritual designed to transform death into a symbol, a cosmic message about the cost of defiance. What happens when punishment attacks not just the body, but a person's very dignity? In ancient Athens, justice could be cruel in unexpected ways. One such punishment was raphanadosis, a bizarre and brutal penalty involving the forceful insertion of a large radish as a form of public humiliation. Though it sounds strange, this was a real method, targeting those who violated deeply held social and moral codes, especially sexual offenses like adultery. Mentioned in the plays of Aristophanes, this punishment combined physical pain with profound shame, a double-edged sword designed to break the offender's spirit in the eyes of society. In a culture where reputation was everything, raphanadosis destroyed not just the body but the offender's social standing, shaming them into invisibility. This punishment reveals the darker side of ancient justice, where cruelty served not only to punish, but to erase identity and strip away honor. What kind of justice kills the mind's brightest light and does so with eerie calm? In ancient Athens, the philosopher Socrates faced this very fate. Condemned for impiety and corrupting the youth, his death by hemlock poisoning stands as one of history's most profound moments of judicial cruelty mixed with ritual. Hemlock was seen as a humane execution, a cup of poison that caused gradual paralysis while the mind remained conscious, a slow, quiet surrender to death. Unlike public spectacles of pain, Socrates' death was solemn, legal, and deeply symbolic. In his final moments, he spoke of the soul's journey beyond the mortal coil, framing death as a release, not just an end. This method of execution exposes a paradox in ancient justice, a democracy that kills its wisest, yet seeks to maintain order through calm legality. Hemlock reminds us that cruelty can be quiet, deliberate, and chillingly dignified, a death wrapped in law but shadowed by loss. What if punishment steals not only life, but vision itself, turning a person into a shadow of their former self? In ancient Greece, blinding was a harsh, permanent sentence used for crimes like treason and sacrilege. This was no mere accident of cruelty. It was a deliberate act designed to erase a person's role in society. By destroying the eyes, the offender was cut off from the world, barred from seeing and participating in the civic and military life that defined Greek identity. This punishment sent a powerful message. To lose one's sight was to lose one's power, dignity, and place in the community. Carried out with hot irons or sharp tools, blinding was both physical mutilation and symbolic exile, condemning the offender to a life in darkness, a living reminder of their fall from grace. Blinding reflects the ancient belief that justice was not only about punishment, but about removing the threat entirely, a chilling reminder of how far power would go to protect itself. Can justice be delivered by the hands of many, turning punishment into a public ritual of purification? In ancient Greece, stoning was a form of collective execution where the community itself became the executioner. Unlike the solitary methods of death, stoning demanded the participation of all, binding society together in condemnation. This brutal practice was reserved for the gravest offenses, blasphemy, treason, or defiling sacred spaces, crimes that threatened the very foundation of the polis. Victims were dragged to public spaces, where citizens threw stones until death claimed them, turning the punishment into a violent spectacle of communal judgment. Stoning was not only about ending a life, it was a ritual cleansing a way for the city to cast out impurity and reaffirm collective order. This terrifying practice reveals the darker side of democracy, the power of the crowd to mete out justice, and the thin line between law and mob rule. What punishment is more final than death? One that stretches it out in silence, isolation, and darkness. Among the most haunting methods of ancient Greek execution was starvation in the pit, known as the barathron. This deep, rocky chasm outside Athens was reserved for the worst offenders, traitors, murderers, and enemies of the state. Thrown into the pit, victims were left to perish, slowly deprived of food, water, and human contact. No trial, no spectacle, just an agonizing wait in the darkness. The barathron was not only a place of death, but a symbol of complete rejection. Those cast inside were erased from memory and society, buried alive in oblivion. As the historian Thucydides reflected, it is the nature of man to remember the honorable and forget the shameful. The barathron ensured that the condemned were not even remembered. This grim punishment forces us to ask, how far can justice go before it becomes cruelty? Can civilization survive if it loses its humanity?